You know? So yeah, I got it out of the way. First rattle out of the box. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Texas, thank you so much for that sub. You are a wonderful human being, as always. So, we are 4 episodes into this now as we begin tonight. It is time for everyone to walk briskly about your premises, ensuring that every device has its browser set to old gen, new gen media on Twitch. Because as they do in the Navy, it's time to rotate and radiate because we are haze gray and underway. So tonight, we are going to be discussing a little bit of techno babble, but it's okay because Solus is here to decode it all for us. We're going to be talking about frames per second, FPS in other words, hertz on your TV or monitor, what those two have to do with each other, refresh rate, which is the same thing, system latency, input lag, all these things. We're going to tell you what they mean and why they are important. In our second segment, we are going to move on to cheating in games. Got a lot to say about Warzone cheaters, Apex cheaters. There's a dog talking about cheaters. I think that's Solus's dog. And we're going to talk about the software and things that they use to cheat. And some new Warzone hacks that have kind of just come to light. We're going to talk about all that. And in our very last segment, we're going to talk about the Xbox making some changes to Xbox Live. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about the Game Pass. And we have a new character joining us tonight who's going to talk to us a lot about the Xbox. So stay tuned for that. So without further ado, or ado, either one, ado, do, I guess any of those will work. Let's go ahead and get the Solus in here, and we'll start talking a little bit of technobabble. The Solus, welcome.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, sir. Can everyone hear the Solus? Say something, Solus, really loud.
Something really loud.
Oh yeah, they can hear you.
Okay.
I can see the meter going up. So you are broadcasting loud and clear, sir. Giant Little speaks Solus. Well, I'm glad somebody does. Okay, you're still a little low. I'm going to turn you up a little bit more.
Oh, I can increase mine.
You're in the yellow on my meter.
Okay.
So
Is that better?
good. Now you're in the red.
Oh, okay. Turn down. Yeah, I'm clipping.
Okay, they're saying that's good. Okay. Yeah, you're peeking up into the yellows now, so that's about right.
Okay.
That's about as good as you can get without getting clipping or distortion, I think.
Yeah.
All right. So with the next gen consoles launching and the new 30 series graphics cards and stuff like that, there's been a lot of talk about frames per second. That like the new consoles, people on console are going to be able to experience not just 60 frames per second, but even on some games they're going to get to experience 120 frames for the first time ever. But a lot of people may not understand really exactly what that means, for them, and what that has to do with their television. And for example, if they're playing a game that they're supposed to be getting 120 FPS on, and their TV is only 60 hertz, they don't realize that that's a shortcoming, and they're not taking advantage of that. So talk to us a little bit about that. So let's unravel the mystery of FPS and hertz for us, if you will.
Well, I will do my best to unravel it. In my mind, it makes sense, but to some people, it's Greek. So, like I said, I'll do my best. Hertz is the refresh rate, or how many images are on your monitor at a time. So your typical TVs were 30, now they're up to 60. Some of them claim 120, but they do a funky transition to make it have 120 frames per second, or 120 hertz, I should say. So if you're looking now, even there's laptops now coming out with 244 hertz monitors. The panels are getting better, faster, clearer, crisper. There's a company, I don't remember the company, but FPS is win game. So your frames per second will help you win games, is what they claim, and it will.
That's
And,
Nvidia with their little catchphrase:
yeah,
frames win games. Yeah.
yeah. And it does though. I've watched. So if you're looking at someone playing at 30 frames per second, they're getting 30 transitions of a character per second, and you're thinking, well, that's a lot. Think of back our TV now. TV I think is at 24 frames per second, typical. Um, but think of this: Bruce Lee, and I'm going back in the day here in the green when he was the Hornet or the Green Hornet or whatever, Green Lantern or whatever that TV show he was on.
Green
Or
Hornet, Green Lantern, completely different dude.
whoever, but you know who I'm talking about. They had to make him slow down because he was hitting them so fast, it looked like they were just falling over. It didn't look like he moved. That's how fast he was going. The film couldn't even pick it up. And that's at 24 frames per second.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to slow it down. And then they had to slow it down again after they already had him slow down once, just so they could get it to look more realistic and not like he just fell over, which realistically he was hitting him that quick and they would have never known it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at compare someone with 60 frames to 120 frames. So we're going to go console to PC. Now, not the new consoles, but Xbox One X, where they said, "Oh, you'll get 60 frames per second." Okay. In Warzone, you have 60 frames per second. Another gentleman has 120 or even 240. But we'll just go 120 because it's easier to compare 1 to 2. As the person with the 60 frames is looking at a corner and the person with the 120 starts to peek out.
Yeah,
They are not.
we have a video to kind of demonstrate this. Let's roll that video while you talk about this.
Pull those pistols and whistle Dixie.
Guy on the mic, thank you for the host, sir.
I actually have your stream off right now, so that way I didn't hear the echo. So let me pull it up so I can see this video real quick.
Okay, we're going to play a video for you guys that kind of demonstrates how, especially like in a first-person shooter like this is about Rainbow Six Siege, how higher frames per second and the higher refresh rate on the monitor or whatever you're playing the game on allows you to see someone quicker. Okay, I'm gonna start play right now. I'm starting at 0, so go. Oh, you know what? Yeah, hang on a minute. Okay, talk again. Yeah, they can hear you now. Okay, start over. We're going to start the video over. Hang on. Sorry, guys. I forgot the audio input was not on this particular scene. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, here we go. We're gonna start the video over. Okay, so let's start your explanation over and go.
Okay. So, like I was saying, Rainbow Six Siege is about holding and defending rooms, a lot of corner peeking. And what's going to happen here is at lower hertz or
frames per second. Oh, really? 1 second. At lower frames per second, your monitor isn't going to refresh as quickly. So the image, because think of, when you're playing a game, all it is a whole bunch of pictures, one after another after another. So it's either 60 pictures per second, 140 pictures per second, 240 pictures per second, so on and so forth. The higher it is, the quicker it will actually update for your eyes to actually register and see what's happening.
Okay.
Now,
Okay, hold on. For some reason, and I don't know why.
what's your video?
Do you think it's the video causing it?
I don't know. I'm guessing here.
So talk when it's paused.
Okay. Are you guys able to hear me better with it paused or while it's playing?
Now, for whatever reason, with this scene on, you're just like so low, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I have no idea. Because he sounds far. I'm right on my mic.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do this. I will just kind of talk through the video real quick, and then we'll switch back to the other scene and have Sola say what he's going to say. So, because you guys can hear me fine, right? Yeah, I can tell on the meter they can hear me. I'm all the way up in the yellow. So, okay. So basically what we're looking at here is this is Rainbow Six Siege, which, is a shooter a lot of people are familiar with. So, whoops, damn it. Hang on. We don't want to look at Linus. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the FPS on the True Lawn ad probably around 5. So they make entry into the room, they peek, and they see an enemy. They see Habana over here to the right. They can't hear you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you'll notice as they make entry into the room, they've shown us on the right 240 frames per second, at 240 hertz, 144, and 60. And you'll see as they make this move to the right that they will see Habana. And you'll notice towards the end of the video, the person at 240 hertz has already shot and killed Habana by the time the person at 60 hertz is just aiming. Watch. Here we go. Person at 240 hertz is already on target. 144 hertz is still trying to get on target. And 60 hertz, they're not even on target yet. So let's go a little bit more. Here we go. Okay. The reticule is on the head at 240, almost on the head at 140, still getting there at 60. Here we go. And they had killed Habana. So let's talk about smoothness, right? So what we're talking about here is with everything being smoother, things like screen tearing and ghosting in the game are also less, right? So watch this. Exactly, wifey. I want to be better. I want higher FPS. So look at the screen here. Look down at the bottom at how much ghosting and how less sharp the image looks at 60 frames per second versus the 140 frames per second. And then you get up to the 240 frames per second, and there's less ghosting, less blurriness. I mean, you can't tell when the image is still that much, but when it's in motion, see the difference? You can definitely tell. See how much less ghosting there is as they go from 60 to 144 to at 240 frames per second, they're almost directly on target. Okay, so one of the most important things that you're going to get with higher frames per second and, of course, matching refresh rate on your monitor or television is less system latency. And we'll have when we can hear Solus better, going back to the other screen, we'll have him explain all this in a little bit more detail. But you'll be able to see players earlier. See, again, it's divided 60 FPS, 140 FPS, and 240 FPS. So let's let this play. See how much further ahead? Yep, on 240, you can already see the enemy peeking out. Can't see anything yet, really, at 144. At 60 FPS, still completely obstructed. So if you were playing against someone and you were at 60 FPS, 60 hertz, and they were at 240 FPS, they're going to see you and kill you before you even see them or know they're there. That's why a lot of times when you're playing a game and you're like, how the hell did they see me? I was behind the wall. Well, now you know. It's not always cheating. Okay, so let's get back. You've heard that before, John Little? Hell, you said that before. What are you talking about? Hell, you've said that before. Okay, so they couldn't hear you because of whatever reason. When we're on that screen, the audio is less. So talk to us a little bit about system latency, which is what we just talked about, how you could see the player quicker.
So,
give us a little bit more educated.
So system latency is the total time it takes for you to see something. And well, it's part of it is, so when you click your mouse, the system's latency is it registering you clicking your mouse to fire and it appearing on the screen. It's also known as your input latency too. So if you're running a 60 hertz, you're not going to see them as quickly. And when you go to fire or click the mouse button, it's going to be that much more of a gap between when you've actually seen them and you click. On 244, you'll see them faster, giving you time to click faster, thus having less lag or input latency between when you actually click and see and are shooting at them.
Well, let's not forget about our console players. They don't click, they pull a trigger.
Well, pull a trigger. And all I can suggest for you console players, get the modded controller so you have a half pull. It'll make your life a ton better when you're shooting, because look at your controllers. You have to pull it back a good, let's say, I'm going to just say a half inch. I don't know how far it is, or we're going to just say a half inch. They put trigger stops in there. So when you pull back a quarter inch, it's the same thing. So you are able to react and shoot faster, because most games will not shoot until you have the trigger pulled all the way back. It's not as soon as you touch it, it's as soon as you pull it all the way back and it actually hits the stopper.
And that's the benefit of a custom controller like Battle Beaver or, somebody like that.
the Microsoft Elite controller, which I don't really support it because it falls apart very easily, but it had that option.
Yeah,
Short pull.
the Battle Beaver that they make right here in Dallas, Texas, by the way, is pretty much the best custom controller because they take that lever action on the controller and they make it into a button. So as soon as you touch that trigger, it activates. There's no like you don't have to pull it any amount at all. I mean, as soon as you touch it like a millimeter, it registers and fires. So
Well, I know. Yeah, Razer has a controller as well that's similar. It has buttons on the bottom too, which is very nice to have the mat because when you're holding a controller, you have two to three fingers on the bottom, depending on how big your hands are, and just the style you play. So if you have buttons down there, that gives you an advantage because well, now you have more options. You don't have to move your thumbs around as much to hit buttons. Or if you play claw, which is my son played claw controller, which was really weird looking, but he was better at it. He was faster, but it actually gives you that same quickness.
So let's talk about the new consoles a little bit. Ronnie's asking about variable refresh rate and FreeSync on the Xbox. You talking about the Xbox Series X, Ronnie, or you talking about the Xbox One X? While he types that, let's go ahead and get into it because I was going to talk about the new Xbox Series X and the PS5 anyway. Because he's talking about the One X, the variable refresh rate and FreeSync.
Okay, so variable refresh rate, what it does is that it allows it to adjust itself to get better performance. So I'm just taking this off of what I know about PCs because I mean they're the same. They're different, but it's a graphics card. It's a graphics card is a graphics card. It does the same thing. So technology is that it's going to lower textures to get you higher frame rates in scenes that are more demanding. And so if you have a scene that's very demanding and you have a lot going on, it's going to lower the resolution down because you have a lot of action. You're not going to notice it as much. So you can keep those high frame rates. And then once it goes back to where it can have the higher resolution, then it will increase the resolution and you'll be able to have that variable. They should really call it variable resolution, but they call it refresh rate because they're trying to keep the refresh rate at a target number by varying your resolution on your screen. And your resolution, if you guys don't know, so 720, that's simply what you have on YouTube and Twitch and Mixer when it was around. Now then it went 1080p, and now typically it's 4K. There's a 2K in between, but that's typically only on computers. So on a console, you're looking at either 4K, 1080p, and then maybe 720. I don't even know if they do 720 anymore, but I want to say they do. At least my Xbox One X did.
Yeah, I think the new one is all 1080p and 4K.
Okay.
So let's talk about the new, the new consoles. We've been talking a lot about PC with these refresh rates, but the new consoles, the PS5 and the X, Series X, like I talked about in the intro, they're, for the first time offering console players, 60 frames per second on just about any game they play. And on some games, they're going to be able to get up to 120 frames. But if they're playing on a television that is only 60 hertz, they're not going to get 120 frames per second. So explain that a little bit.
So, they're going to get 120 frames per second. They're not going to see 120 frames per second.
Right.
So your game will be running at 120 frames per second. However, if your monitor can only refresh at 60, then you're only going to get half of those frames displayed on your screen at a time. It's better to have more frames, in my opinion, than what your monitor can handle, because anything extra, whatever, it's going to go away. We don't care. But when you have less, so that's when you start seeing more ghosting, more screen tearing. You run into bigger problems. So if you are wanting to play on the new systems and you don't have a 120 hertz TV, don't worry about it. Your 60 hertz will be fine. You're gonna lose some frames, but it's not going to impact you as if now if unless you had a 120 hertz monitor or TV and you're playing at 60 hertz, that's where you're gonna start noticing a problem, because then it's having to fill in between those two frames that it has. It has to try to figure out what you're doing, and that causes more ghosting, which also causes like a glow or a shadow effect on everything.
What's up, Rugger, my man? Okay, so that's a good explanation. So with the launch of actually, we started hearing about ray tracing with the 20 series graphics cards, right? And we're hearing about it, a whole lot more with the 30 series. And even the new consoles, I know the X Series X, they've talked about a ray tracing a little bit with that. Ray tracing is one of those things that a lot of people don't know what it is, but they're afraid to ask. So explain to us what RTX, what ray tracing is.
So real-time RT and X is your tracing. So it's supposed to give you as real-to-life light reflections and character reflections and environment reflections of light. So when the sun comes in, if it hits an object that is reflective, it's supposed to bounce that light off and fill the room with that same light, just like you would in real life. If you have a light come in, it hits a mirror, it's going to reflect out and hit all over in your room. So what they're trying to do, and so far NVIDIA has it down better than AMD. AMD's trying. They're still AMD will get there. I know they will, but I digress about that. The ray tracing is just supposed to give you the pretty lights. And if you're playing a game that's very intense and you're running around and you're doing a lot of moving and shooting and ducking, diving, and the 5Ds of dodgeball, then you're not going to notice that except for the very beginning. When you first turn it on, you're like, oh, this looks so awesome. But then halfway through the game, you're not even going to notice it because you're going to be moving so much. You're not going to have time to focus on those little details. And it is a resource hog. They're talking about if you did 4K or is it 4K or 8K ray tracing, you need like 12 or 16 gigs of video memory, something ridiculous for that. And I was like, yeah, not worth it yet. Now, once they get it better and it turns into a standard feature that they can do without crippling your PC, then yes, turn it on. Why not?
Now, you mentioned NVIDIA being able to doing a better job at RTX and ray tracing than AMD. For those of you that don't know, AMD is the graphics card supplier for the Xbox and the PlayStation, I believe.
Yes.
So if you didn't know that, that's who the graphics card in those units is made from. You guys are talking about the human eyes limit being somewhere around 60 frames. The most recent,
that's about right.
The most recent study that was done about that, there was a study done in Japan, and they discovered that the human eye, while it taps out somewhere between 60 and 80 frames, the brain is still comprehending those higher frames. And in this study, they noticed that people were able, because their brain was comprehending those higher frame counts, those people were able to react more quickly. So take that for whatever, but that's what they found in that most recent study. And I'll try to find a link to that and post it in the Discord and our Gilded Escape Pod if Microsoft buys Discord. So another term that's kind of getting thrown around a lot with the new technology that's come out graphically is DLSS. So explain to us a little bit, what the hell is DLSS? What does it stand
Okay.
for? What does it mean?
Oh, you know what it stands for? Um, it's super sampling is what it is. I don't remember what the DL is, but it's super sampling.
Down low.
Okay, the down low super sampling for NVIDIA. So, what it does is it takes your picture, it blows it up bigger, and then it samples it down smaller, so that way it looks better. So it's like taking a so okay, for example, our Ronnie, you can't tell the difference, you said earlier, between 1040p and 4K on a monitor.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a 4K monitor and you have a 1080p monitor side by side, and you take a picture, a screenshot of of your desktop on your 1080p monitor, and you bring it over to your 4K monitor and you blow it up to fill up the whole screen, you're gonna see it's pixelated, it's blurry, like it's gonna look like ass. Now, if you take a screenshot of your 4K monitor and you bring it over to your 1080p monitor and you make it fit to the frame of your 1080p monitor, you're going to notice it looks a lot better. And the reason why is because, well, you just did sampling. You sampled it down to a smaller image. And that's what their DLSS is doing.
Okay, so we've got another video here to kind of demonstrate what DLSS means to you when you see it with your eyeballs. So let me go ahead and bring that up real quick. Yeah, looking like ass is a very technical term, sir. Okay, here we go. I'm going to switch over to the video now. Not that one. Okay, so this it's showing with DLSS off, right? When he turns DLSS on, it increases, like for example, this is Minecraft it's showing here, which I can't believe that we even discuss Minecraft and graphics in the same sentence, but
It's hard on your system.
so it increases their FPS from 45 to 108. And of course, ray tracing is enabled as well. So let's go ahead and move this forward. Here's Fortnite. Now you can see as the video played, I'll rewind that a little bit on the Minecraft and the Fortnite. You can see how much smoother it is, how much more vibrant it looks. You can't really tell that much on the Fortnite. And I think this is Cold War. Yeah, this is Cold War here. So this is native 4K on the left at 43 frames per second, DLSS off, and on the right hand side that is DLSS on at 84 frames, DLSS 4K. Not that much of a difference. I mean, I can see, like the rays of sunlight and stuff like that coming through the forest canopy a little bit better. What is this? More Fortnite. I don't know if I agree with their claims that DLSS is a miracle and it works like black magic or not. Let's see, that was Cyberpunk. I know a lot of people have played Cyberpunk. Let me rewind that a little bit.
And I can tell you right now that it does make a good difference when you turn the DLSS on.
In Cyberpunk, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Cyberpunk image here,
It's hard to see the differences, really.
well, you can see a little bit. Like on the poster, if you look at the poster, there's a lot more detail.
Those are two different posters too.
Well, that's true. The sidewalk, the rain, I guess, on the sidewalk, it's a little bit more pronounced, I suppose, as far as the light shining off of it. Yeah, and that's just showing all the DLSS supported games there, is all that's doing. So anyhow, that is kind of a short and sweet explanation of. Yeah, he's not on that scene for whatever reason. Rugger Solus is just. I don't know if it's because the video is on that as well. For whatever reason, it's just not picking up the audio on
Yeah,
him.
whenever he plays a video, it cuts me off.
Yeah, it's really stupid. I don't know why. I mean, it shouldn't matter. I mean, especially when I have the video muted, it should not affect his mic level at all. But for some reason, it does.
Yeah.
Mostly Johnny Cool. Yeah, I haven't played a game on, and I haven't bought the new Xbox because there's just really no reason for me to. I haven't bought the new PlayStation either. I haven't turned on my Xbox One X in probably 6 to 8 months.
I got turned on the other day so I could watch a movie.
That's probably the last time that I turned my Xbox on. Was that?
I think my daughter played on it the other day. I haven't touched it though.
Legolicious, what's up, buddy? Okay, guy in the mic wants to know about tuning, and I don't think he's talking about a tuning fork.
Tuning what? Are you talking about like overclocking tuning?
Yeah, explain yourself, guy. Are you talking about overclocking or what?
Or you're talking about your settings like in games to make higher frames per second happen?
Legolicious, what's going on, buddy? I saw you applied for Rogue Company Partner the other day. Or maybe that was today. I saw on Twitter. Okay, as we wait with bated breath for Guy's answer about tuning.
So if you're talking about graphics and settings tuning, the best advice I can give you is set resolution to whatever you want if you're on a PC, of course. Drop the graphics down as low as you can go, like on everything. So that's your maximum frames per second that game will ever give you. Then you start increasing one by one to see what settings are going to be your biggest hitters as far as drops. Post processing, I've noticed, is about 10 to 20% of your frames gone if you max that out on most games. So that usually you can safely get away with a low to a medium setting on that, depending on your system. If you have a medium system, then I just leave it off. But I mean, there's so many different PCs out there, and there's so many different configurations. Like I couldn't sit there and tell you how to tune every PC. Like there's no real guide other than crank everything to the bottom and start working them up until you get to that frames per second that you're happy with.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll just assume that answered Guy's question. Now, talk to us a little bit about input lag and the difference between console and PC as far as input lag. And input lag means when you either touch your mouse or your controller, how long it takes what you just did to actually take place in the game.
So as far as the new consoles, I'm not sure how much input lag they have with controllers. However, I know if you're using a wireless controller, typically your input lag is going to be higher than a wired. Now, they've improved the wireless quality, so it isn't as bad. However, if you think about it, if you are using your headset connected to your controller, your video or your input from your controller and your voice communications are going through that controller. So
over Bluetooth.
All over Bluetooth, which Bluetooth has a wide bandwidth. However, if you sit far away from your TV, there's a lot of little things can mess with it. So I personally have always done wired whenever, even with my Elite, I would just hook up the USB cable and plug it into my Xbox. So I had a wired controller because I didn't want to deal with, it disconnected on me or something crazy is going on.
That's why I play with a
solar
wired
flare.
I play with a wired mouse, not wireless, for that very reason.
Yeah, there's a solar flare and it's messing up communications. Wow. then you have other issues. But input lag is just like he said, how long it takes for your click on the mouse to register an action on the screen. And there's devices that they use to register all this stuff. I don't have any of them myself, so I, I'm just going to tell you, wired mouse, wireless is okay now, but I would just use wired. It's better unless you want to be a couch gamer. Then get yourself a wireless mouse, a good one. Don't buy some cheap, $20 setup. Make sure it's halfway decent.
Okay,
Spend the money.
So Guy is talking about something beta in the GeForce Experience app.
Oh, okay. So
it brings up filter and then tuning. Do you know what he's talking about?
So I know in wait. Okay.
Okay.
So I think if you're talking about in the GeForce Experience, you click on your game and it says these are the settings, optimal settings. You click on it and it automatically tunes it for you. I mean, they're typically going for the best picture, not necessarily the highest frames.
Are you talking about optimization? Like we asked GeForce to optimize the game? Is that what he's talking about?
I think that's what he's talking about. Let me pull up my GeForce Experience real quick. I mean, I have it, so.
I mean, I thought that had been around forever. I didn't think that was something new.
Yeah, so you can optimize it. I don't see it. And then if you click on the little wrench off to the right of optimize, you can say quality or performance. If you slide that all the way over to quality, or from quality to performance, it's going to give you.
Guy says it's only for the RTX cards, which you've got a 3080, so you would have it.
Yeah, I do. I'm looking. Is it under the settings?
That's what he said. He said it's under settings and then click the beta tab.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that option.
Okay. Well, we'll figure that out and we'll post the answer in Discord and Escape Pod Gilded. So before we move on to our second segment about cheating in games and software that cheaters use, we are going to hear from a new guest on the stream about the Xbox. Wow, everybody. I'm unstacking them. The crazy Xbox fan. I got Xbox everything. I got all the Xbox. I got the Xbox shirt. I got the Xbox underwear. I get a skid mark on the back of the Xbox underwear. I just turn them around, get a skid mark there, turn them aside, skid mark there. You get the idea about the Xbox. I tell my family, don't be calling me or texting me on no phone. You only talk to me on Xbox Live. That's all I do. I got my 105-year-old grandma with a headset on Xbox Live saying, oh, am I in the party? Am I in the party? Can anybody hear me? Oh, Lord. One time, I was in my living room playing the Xbox, and I look out the window. You know what I see? A great big gator! And I look at him and I say, Gator, what you want, Gator? Say, I want your Xbox. And I say, you not getting my Xbox, Gator? And he smashed through the window, started chasing me. So I grab my Xbox and I run. I run all through the town. I run to the airport. And I get on the first flight to Seattle. I get on, I sit down, I got my Xbox like this, and I look back about 4 rows back. You know what I see? The big old gator. He got on the flight too. I look back there, he's crunching peanuts real loud. Flight attendant got to come by, tell him stop, be quiet, he's disturbing everybody. So we get off the plane, chase on again, all through Seattle. I run in with my Xbox, gator chasing me. I get one of those rental scooters, trying to get some speed on the gator. He get a scooter too. We through the streets. I'm on my scooter, him on his scooter. He chased me all the way to Giant Little house. Only Giant Little not home. He out being all 50 feet tall, terrorizing downtown Seattle, all that stuff he do. So I jumped through the window, smashed through the window, and I run over to Giant Little fireplace, and I get his fireplace poker, and I point at the gator, and I say, "Stop chasing me, gator!" And gator look at me, and he say, "Okay." Okay, there you have it. Unstacking them. Talking to us about the Xbox. All right. Did they, Giant Little? I bet. I've heard that you're going to make a guest appearance in Godzilla vs. Kong and come flying in with a flying DDT on Godzilla. So we'll all be looking for that. The Xbox. Oh, spoilers! I'm so very sorry. All right, let's move on to our second segment. We're going to talk about a thing that all of us hate, especially those of us that play shooters. Legolicious mentioned Rogue Company, which we've played quite a bit of until I got tired of it. I won't get solo started on how quick I get tired of games, but there's cheating in Rogue Company. There's cheating in every shooter. Games that are free to play, especially like Rogue Company and Warzone, Fart Night, stuff like that. Those seem to be the ones where you run into the most cheaters. Hey, Spidey, what's up, brother? Yeah, the schedule is on the channel. It's also in. It's pinned to the top of my Twitter. So, hey, what's up, great one? That's my Twitter. Whoop, that's not right. Why can't you type? That's my Twitter right there, Devil. So we were talking about frames per second, refresh rate, her system latency, input lag, and that's what we were talking about in the first segment, Spidey. So we're moving on to talking about cheaters now. We are moving on to talk about Warzone in particular. There you go, Spidey. Yeah, we broke it down for him. Solus and I did, mostly Solus. But yeah, we'll talk about Valorant a little bit too. They do handle the cheating problem in a more unique way than a lot of these other games do. So the other day, in fact, I think it was yesterday, Activision and Raven banned more than 13,000 accounts in their latest ban wave. It is Lego, yeah. I kind of call Rogue Company the dumbed down version of Valorant. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about Rogue Company. I'm just saying that it's a little bit easier than Valorant. Valorant is like where every tryhard in the world lives on PC. We played Valorant for a while, and it just got to the point. I mean, that's when I really started to notice the problems I was having with my carpal tunnel and my low reaction time. And we just moved on to other games because I just couldn't compete anymore at the level that I thought I should. Maybe now that I've had my surgery and I'm kind of getting back to my old self a little bit, maybe we can try it again. I don't know. It depends on how much.
What?
It depends on how much of my cussing Solus and Giant Little want to hear. So we'll see. But yeah, 13,000 cheaters were banned in the latest ban wave of Warzone. Now, if you think that's a lot, since the beginning of the year, Remember, we're only in March. They have banned more than 110,000 accounts, starting with a major ban at the beginning of February, where they deactivated more than 60,000 accounts. And the problem that they have in Warzone is they don't have any type of anti-cheat software at all, right? They don't have like Battle Eye and what's the little one with the teddy bear or whatever the case may be. They don't have any of those. And when they ban somebody, all they do, since the game is free, is they make a new account and they come right back. And that's why, despite these big ban waves that they've had, players report that the number of cheaters in Warzone has actually increased since Season 2 has started. Instead of decreased. Because again, all they have to do is make a new account. Texas, I quit playing it for a while. We played it a lot last year when it first came out. Solus, Giant Little Eye, and Stacky did. The real Stacky, not Unstacky. And when the cheating just kind of got out of control, I just couldn't do it anymore. I got really pissed off, getting down to the final 5 or whatever, and then you get taken out by an aimbotter. We recently have gone back to it just because, with us on PC and Stacky on Xbox, and like my son-in-law on Xbox, we can't seem to convert them to the dark side for whatever reason. That's one of the few games that we can play that's cross-platform. So, we've been playing Warzone with them again kind of recently.
I mean, there's always Fortnite.
Yeah. Anyway, now the most common thing that you think about, when people talk about cheating in games is, aimbotting, right? And what exactly is aimbotting? I mean, that's when someone is running a software in the background that interacts with the game, that aims for them or allows them to snap immediately to, what's up, Cahoon? Yep, Apex. There you go. Also cheating. We're going to talk about that game in a minute. That has the reticule snap directly to their head. Helps them track, helps them fire at full auto, hit every shot. That's the most common type of cheat software that you hear about is aimbot software, right? But I mean, there are others. There are speed hack software that allow people to their character move much more quickly than they should. Speed hacking used to be really huge in PUBG, where people could just hang around on the edge of the blue or actually in the blue, and because of a speed hack, it didn't matter because their character was running 2, 3, 4 times faster than they should, and they could all they had to do was run back in and stay ahead of the blue, and no big deal for them. We actually saw a speed hacker the other night in Warzone. The way this guy was just kind of hopping around all over the place, and he almost looked like he was warping everywhere. He was absolutely using a speed hack. Guy mentioned walls. Wall hacking has been a huge problem in Warzone, and in fact, there's a new Warzone bug that has escalated the wall hacking concept. They make walls disappear entirely. To you, you're inside of a house or a building and you're all good. You're in cover, right? But they can see right through those walls and they can see you and shoot you. So that's a new wall hack that they're running in Warzone. So, Solus, you are a tech guy. Talk to us a little bit about aimbot. Where are these people finding these programs? Where, and these speed hacks, and tell us a little bit about how they work.
Well, where to find them, I have no idea because I've never used them.
The dark web.
I'm going to assume on some website and they're paying for them, usually because someone is taking the time to code it, which I mean, it's all it is it's a code that they wrote to do something, track a value somewhere in the code that equals the player's head. So that way, when they are moving their mouse around, it's going to want to go to that automatically. Um, the other ones that Onjo was talking about, like the wall hacks, I haven't seen too many of those, but I have seen where people are tracking you from behind a wall, like you're running in a building, and they're just following you, like they can see you plain as day. Now, a lot of times that's just they can see, like in observer mode, you have the outline that you like. If you've ever been in observer mode in like PUBG, when they're in a building, you see an outline of the person, and all it does is it puts that around you, so that way they can see where you're moving at all times. So, you're in a ghillie suit laying in the grass, can't see you. Well, they can because they see this nice little red outline around you.
Okay.
It's far, but I said, as far as where to get them, I have no idea. I really don't.
Yeah, there are some on how to glitch and so forth available on YouTube, like Spidey's talking about. And there are, actual web pages where people are selling these, selling aimbot wall hacks, and, people are paying for them. So, I mean, think about that for a minute. People are paying money to run an aimbot or a speed hack so they can cheat at a free game. How pathetic is that?
Well, a lot of it's they're in. It's a lot of the games are like competitive games. So if you think about when Warzone did a tournament, it was who could get the most kills, top kill number in so many rounds or whatever.
Thank you for that sub, Johnny Cool. I appreciate it, brother.
So if they're, if they're running this cheat, then of course they're going to do better than someone that isn't. Well, at least I hope they do. If not, then well, clearly they need the cheat and they still suck. But
absolutely. So back to the that new wall bug on Warzone. Apparently, it even works if you end up in the gulag, right? And it's not bad enough that you're cheating in the actual game itself, but when you go to the second chance gulag, they have to cheat in there too. And apparently, it works a little bit differently in the gulag. What it does is it stretches all the textures out, where the other player they can't see, so they could just not. No, they don't even know where to shoot. They don't know where to look in that environment at all. And so yeah, they're using it both in the game itself and they're using it in the gulag as well. Now, somebody mentioned Valorant earlier, and Valorant does do, they take an extra step to help with cheating. You actually have to install a software package on your PC called Vanguard in order to play Valorant. And what Vanguard does is it scans all the files in your system to determine if you have any type of cheat software running. Now, they have had some issues with it where it identified like somebody's RGB software, like their colored lights in their setup. It identified that as cheat software, and it banned them from Valorant because of that. But mostly Vanguard, I think, has worked pretty well. When we were playing, I don't really remember ever running across somebody that seemed like they were just blatantly cheating. So, I mean, it's a good idea. It seemed like it definitely worked there. A lot of people stayed away from Valorant because of it, because they felt like it was, intrusive to have a software running on your PC that was scanning through all of your files like that. They felt like maybe it was a privacy concern. I mean, whatever. I mean, I don't really have anything to hide on my PC, so I didn't care. And it was a fun game, right? So there's that as well. Paladins and Smite do that? I did not know. I was not aware of that they had any type of advanced anti-cheat like that. I haven't played either. Well, I really have never played Smite, but I have played Paladin some. but I was not aware that they did anything like that. So, 2 Cahoon, also known as 2 Cajun, mentioned Apex earlier. Now, Apex is another game that they do a lot better job than Warzone at combating cheaters. A whole lot better, and they do a better job at staying on top of people and banning them, and they have a good reporting system as well. However, it was reported yesterday that they are having a large increase in cheaters DDoSing their opponents. Basically, what a DDoS attack is, or DDoS, however you want to say it, it's kind of like the GIF thing. That is when someone floods your router with so much data that it knocks you offline. And players were doing this to each other. And I would guess that how somebody would utilize this to their advantage is if you get down to maybe the final 5, or that's another way to say it, Spidey, oversaturates the internet. Maybe you get down to the final 5 or whatever, and you DDoS all your opponents so you can, win you are the champion is how you end up winning in Apex. So anyway, that seems to be the biggest issue facing Apex right now. Yeah, guy, they would have to increase your internet for sure to even DDoS you. But there's a lot of cheating that goes on in other games too. PUBG still has a lot of cheaters. We run into them. We still play a lot of PUBG. We still see them. Rogue Company we talked about. There's cheaters on every game, and it seems to be more so on the free games than your paid games. Yeah, true, Giant Little. I remember back in the old days of Halo 2, people, when it was all
Light switches.
Yeah, or they called it standby. Remember? That's what they called it, was standby. Where a lot of modems had a standby button on them, and you could hit that, and it would basically make your Spartan or Elite, I guess if you're playing as an Elite, it would make them just kind of like phase in and out. And standby was a big deal back in the old Halo 2 days.
Yeah, a light switch, and it used to put on your foot as like a foot pedal, and you'd click on it, and what it do is it cuts off your send data, but you still get receive, so that way you could run around and still see where everyone is, and then when you click it again, it would update the game where you're at, and so you would end up behind someone from like out of nowhere. You're like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah, I remember I used to see lag switchers, standby users, whatever, all the time in Halo 2 back in the day. I even ran into a guy who his gamer tag was standby user. I'll never forget that. Standby user was his friggin' gamer tag. Unbelievable. It's like, don't even try to hide it, dude. Just have it right out there that you're a friggin' cheat. All right, let's move on to our last and final segment of the show. And we're going to talk more about the Xbox. Now, we're not going to have Unstacking them come back, but we're going to talk a little bit about some changes that Xbox is making. The first thing that I read is that it's not a big deal, but I guess it is kind of a big deal. They're changing Xbox Live. They're changing the name. It's been Xbox Live forever. Ever since the Xbox first came out. It's changing to Xbox Network. And they, the speculation is the reason that they're doing that is because they're trying to have so much more, PC and console integration and interplay, crossplay, all that stuff. They can just refer to it as Xbox Network. That of course gets my fear up about Microsoft trying to acquire Discord, which is what we talked about last night. Are they buying Discord just to get access to all those users, and then they're going to shut it down and put everybody on this Xbox network, which is why, I have created a gilded escape pod for everybody to bail out to from Discord, even though I wasn't a huge fan of Gilded. But if Microsoft buys Discord, I'm out. Gilded it is.
Well, if you look at Microsoft Teams compared to Discord, I mean they're pretty similar already. So they could also be looking to buy them up just so they can shut them down and try to get everyone to start using Teams.
Well, I mean, if you talk about Teams, they bought Skype and shut it down.
Yep.
So they could launch Teams. And that's, what Giant Little and I were talking about last night. That is, a lot of the fear is that, they're going to buy Discord to get access to that huge pool of users and, then shut it down and make this Xbox network, the replacement. True. Yeah, Spidey brings up a good point. Free-to-play games are now playable without Xbox Gold. So people can play Warzone. They can play Rogue Company.
Fortnite.
They can play Fortnite. Damage Control. I don't know so much about that because Giant Little said that has actually been a thing for a few months now. Because we were playing the other night, and I said something about people still having to have gold to play, and Giant Little said, "Oh no, that's been a thing for a while now. Remember?" And he, told me all about it, and I got schooled. So they can play Fortnite, Warzone, Rogue Company. Hell, I don't know what else is free to play besides those. I don't even know what is Rocket League free to play now. I think it is. When they announced the price change to live is when they announced it. Okay. All right. Well, good deal. Another kind of big Xbox news was Forbes had an article about, do you still need gold for party chat? That I don't know. I bet Giant Little knows the answer to that. Forbes released an article about Game Pass. And of course, Game Pass has been in the news a lot because of all these acquisitions that Xbox has been doing, buying Bethesda and so forth. Forbes released a study that Xbox Game Pass subscribers actually spend 20% more money on games than non-subscribers. And how they gathered that was that if you're playing a game on Game Pass, you're likely to, if you find something you like, you're likely to buy the DLC for it. You're likely to buy other games in that series if it's like a franchise. You're likely to buy skins, whatever. So I thought that was, it was all of Game Pass, buddy. I thought so too, but when I read it, they were talking about Game Pass as a whole. So I found that pretty interesting. Now, the article also says that people that are Game Pass subscribers also spend 20% more time playing games, which is what Xbox wants, right? And they play 30% more games and try 40% more different types of games. So if that's, obviously the Game Pass subscription is designed for people to play more games and spend more time on their Xbox or, Game Pass for PC. And if that's the case, then it's working. But what I really found interesting was the fact that they spend 20% more than non-Game Pass subscribers. I thought that was very interesting. I did see another bit of data today that if you look at a Game Pass subscription over a 12-month period, it basically equals out to the cost of 3 games at $59.99. And I think total Game Pass revenue for Xbox is somewhere around $32.5 billion. So I guess it's working out pretty good for them now. Captain Kirk, I hear you, brother. Me too. I hear you. All right. Well, that is going to do it for tonight. Thank you all for being here. Solus, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Very informative. We will not be on tomorrow night. We will be back Friday at 8 p.m. So we look forward to seeing you then. Everyone, happy gaming. Happy everything. Take care of yourself. And we'll see you Friday.